Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So chess world championship is over, Liren is the new champion, but after 11th game didn't look like it. Nepo was 1 point ahead and Ding had to score at least 1 week in the last 3 games. Let's see how he tried that in the 12th game. He had white pieces and he started with d4, knight to f6, knight to f3, d5, e3, and we have Cole system. So Ding tries with not so common opening, c5, striking the center, knight from b goes to d2, c-pawn captures on d4, e-pawn recaptures, queen c7, c3, bishop to d7, very interesting move. Bishop is usually placed on f5 or g4, bishop to d3, knight c6, and now white castles king side. Black also has the opportunity to castle queen side, but as it was mentioned by the commentators, pushing a and b pawns could be quite unpleasant for black. So bishop to g4 was played, actually almost instantly, like he would be familiar with this position. It was very surprising to commentators also because black loses tempo. This move, however, is also proposed by the machine. Rook to e1 now, e6, knight goes to f1, bishop to d6, targeting this pawn on h2, which happens to be protected 3 times, so white doesn't have to worry about that. Bishop to g5 was played, targeting knight on f6, threatening to double pawns along the f file, but black doesn't care and castles king side. And here Ding took a lot of time to reconsider and in the end captures knight on f6. So white gives up on a bishop pair, g-pawn of course recaptures, and now knight to g3. Of course at some point white intends to deploy the knight to f6. Once this bishop stopped protecting the h5 square, f5 was played by black, preparing f4, forcing the knight on g3 to retreat back to, let's say, f1. Probably h5 square is still protected, but white is on the move and plays h3, attacking the bishop, forcing black to decide what to do. Of course, f4 pawn push is possible, counter-attacking knight on g3. Well, let's see. f4, h-pawn captures, f-pawn captures, f-pawn captures, bishop captures pawn on g3, attacking the rook, but queen to d2 could be a very tricky move. Bishop would have to go back to f5, because if bishop captures, queen to g5 check, king to h8, queen f6, king g8, knight g5, threatening mate on h7. This is devastating for black. Rook to e8, let's say, bishop then captures on h7, king f8, now rook captures on e1, knight e6 is the threat. I cannot go through all the variations, but white is clearly winning here. Okay, let's go back to our game. So black captures knight on f3, queen recaptures, knight on g3 has to be twice protected, knight goes to e7, and now finally knight goes to h5, preparing to harass black king. Now g4 pawn push is a serious threat. That would be a double attack on the f5 pawn, and if f pawn would capture, then queen f6 would be inevitable mate on g7. So black plays king h8, preparing rook g8, also harassing white king, and now g4 was played. Ding didn't think too much before playing g4. Risky move, I would say, because black can deploy the rook on g5 with one move. Well, of course, black cannot immediately capture on g4 because after queen f6, it's mate in the next move. In the game, black responded by playing rook g8. Pinning the g-pawn, king to h1, removing the king out of the pin, knight goes to g6, preparing to harass white king. Maybe rook to g1 immediately would be the best option, Instead, bishop to c2 was played, so white is clearing d3 square. Once this pawn on f5 will be gone, white threatens with mate on h7. Still, this pawn will remain here for some time. Knight to h4 was played, attacking the queen. Queen goes to d3, and now rook to g6, preparing to double the rooks along the g file. White would like to capture pawn on f5, which is double attack, but if g captures on f5, then rook g2 is winning. After doubling the rooks along the g file, there isn't much to be done here. White cannot parry with rook to g1 because rook to h2 is checkmate. In the game, rook to g1 was played, releasing black's pressure on the g file. f4, attacking the queen. Queen goes to d3, keeping eye on that h7 square. Now queen to e7, deploying queen into the battle. Rook from a goes to e1, and now queen g5. So black is gathering pieces on the king side. Now white wants to attack the rook on g6. The only problem is queen has to protect this f3 square, because knight to f3 forks both rooks. So queen has to stay on the third rank. c4 was played, clearing this c3 square. Still not the best move. D pawn captures on c4, and queen goes to c3. And black responds with b5, protecting c4 pawn, but with clear intention to play b4. Then queen would have to abandon the third rank. Well, a3 doesn't help, then black would play a5 and later b4. So in the game, a4 was played, and black pushes b pawn to b4, and now white indeed has no other options but to capture pawn on c4. And here black had a winning combination at his disposal, and it starts with knight to f3, forking both rooks. But more important, queen to h4 is the threat. h3 pawn cannot be successfully defended, so white would have to find the move queen c5. Now both rook and the knight are attacked, so knight captures on e1. Well, if rook recaptures, simply rook d8, black is exchanged and a dangerous attack up. So queen captures rook on a8, check. Rook g8 defending. Queen cannot go back to f3, but queen h3 with deadly attack is still a threat, so queen to e4 would have to be played, threatening queen h7 with mate, and now knight captures bishop on c2. Queen recaptures, queen to h4, threatening mate in 1. Well, queen to d3 is the only successful defending move. Then f5, trying to remove the defender of the knight on h5. So queen to f3 would have to be played. But then f-pawn captures, h-pawn is pinned. So rook has to recapture. And then rook recaptures, queen recaptures, and finally pawn recaptures. Well, the material is equal, but black is winning. And the winning move is b3. Blocking white's b pawn. Even if knight tries to go back into the game with knight to f6, then bishop to a3. If b pawn captures, b pawn promotes, and after knight e4, bishop captures pawn on b2. Knight to d2, bishop captures another pawn on d4. Knight captures pawn on b3, and bishop captures yet another pawn on f2, and black is 2 pawns up and is winning. Okay, let's go back to our game. So black doesn't play this knight to f3. It's difficult to see such combinations anyway. Rook from a goes to g8 was played, and here white could have equalized with bishop captures on g6. If white would play that, then h-pawn recaptures and knight cannot go anywhere. That's true. But queen to c6 solves white's problem. If black removes the bishop to, let's say, b8, then d5 is a deadly move. If e-pawn captures, then knight can go to f6 where it's protected. Rook on g8 is under attack. After black removes the rook, then rook goes to e8, further trading material. Okay, in this position, black would have to capture knight on h5, queen captures on d6, knight goes to f3, it's fork, black gains exchange back. Computer says it's small edge for black, but white would have enough counterplay. Sorry, white would have enough counterplay. Okay, so in the game, white plays queen to c6. Another inaccuracy, black is now much better. Bishop on d6 is under attack, and black would have to play knight to f5 defending, with intention to play queen to h4 with mating threats, while if g-pawn captures on f5, knight on h5 is for free, threatening again queen to h3 checkmate. So after rook captures on g6, queen to h3 check, king to g1 is the only option, and now h-pawn captures on g6, preparing a deadly discover attack on the king who cannot go anywhere. And after f6, g-file is not open, but then it's gonna be checkmate, or white loses decisive material. In the game, black plays bishop goes back to b8, and white is suddenly much better, almost winning. White would have to capture rook on g6, similar as shown before. If knight captures, white is still exchange up. If h-pawn captures, then d5 is a fatal blow. In the game, white doesn't go for it. Queen to b7 was played, and now black is much better. Those who watched the game could see how the bar indicating the advantage went up and down all the time. Again, knight to f5 would have to be played as shown before, but again, black doesn't go for it. Pawn on f7 is under attack, but black doesn't care and plays rook h6. And now white cannot capture pawn on f7 because queen has to protect f3 square. Knight to f3 with fork is still a threat, so bishop to e4 defending f3 square with bishop. Now rook to f8 defending pawn on f7. Queen captures pawn on b4. So white is a pawn up and has a slight edge, but the position is still very complicated. Queen to d8 defending rook of f8. Queen to c3 preparing d5 discover attack on the king at the correct moment. Knight goes to g6 supporting e5 square in case if bishop has to close the long diagonal. Now bishop to g2, queen to h4 attacking pawn on f2, rook to f2 defending. Well, the position is still rather equal. Maybe white has a slight edge because he has a pawn up. Black has lots of options at his disposal. a5, for example, would be an interesting option, with intention to play bishop to d6, cementing at b4. White naturally cannot capture with queen because then f3, knight to f3 forks both bishop and rook. If bishop captures, queen h3 checkmate. There are other options, of course, but in the game, black has decided to make a move that loses instantly. f5 was played, targeting g4 pawn. h-pawn is pinned by the queen, and black is trying to undermine the defender of the knight on h5, therefore white cannot capture on f5. Instead, rook captures on e6 was played. Now white is threatening d5, discover attack on the king. Let's see, after a random move, h6, then d5, king to g8, then queen g7 checkmate. If bishop to e5 interference, then rook captures, knight captures, queen captures, still king cannot go to g8, so after rook to f6, then knight captures and white has decisive material advantage. Okay, black could try with f3. Queen cannot capture because queen to h3 is checkmate, and queen cannot capture because f-pawn captures on g4. So we have discovered attack on the queen, and the defender of the knight on h5 is gone, so queen has to capture. Knight recaptures, rook recaptures. Another one of those very tricky positions, but anyway. After f3, White could simply play bishop to f1, still protecting h3 pawn, retaining the advantage. In the game, in this position, black realized in what kind of trouble he is. It was difficult to watch Nepo over the board, completely devastated to realizing that he missed a draw or even victory. Rook captures on h5 was played. G-pawn recaptures, queen recaptures, d5 check, king to g8, now d6 is the last nail in the coffin. If black makes a random move, let's say a6, then simply rook e7, threatening checkmate on g7. If knight captures rook on e7, then bishop to d5, double check and mate. If black tries to defend the g7 square with queen h6, then bishop to d5 check. Rook f7 is the only option to defend, since knight on g6 is pinned, and then bishop captures on f7, king f8, queen h8, knight captures queen, and rook g8, checkmate. Even if king tries to run with king to f7, then queen f6 check, king has to go back to g8, rook to e8, pinning the rook. Even if rook captures rook on e8, then bishop to d5, rook e6, bishop to e6 is checkmate. So white is clearly winning. Even if black captures pawn on d6, then bishop to d5, threatening rook d8, discover check and mate in 1. And even if black interferes to the diagonal with rook f7, then simply rook captures bishop on d6, decisive material advantage, and moreover in mate in maximum 6 move, where white is threatening rook d8 mate in 1. If black tries with queen h6, defending f1 square, then bishop captures on f7, king recaptures, queen f6, check, king g8 is gonna be mate in 2. In the game, however, in this position, Nepo realized that there's no point in playing on and resigned the game, and Liren equalized the score. So I hope you like this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.